Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Welcome again all of you. We have now come to the implementation part of random walk method. So let us start. First of all, as in always, we'll be importing some libraries. So first of all, let me import NetworkX. Import NetworkX as NX. Then we'll be importing random library. We will also be importing matplotlib in order to visualize the graph. So I'll write import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. So I think we are now done with importing the libraries. So as in the previous programming screencast, I showed you how can you draw random graphs using NetworkX. So we'll be drawing that particular graph here. So I'll just write g is equal to nx dot gnp underscore random underscore graph. And first parameter is the number of nodes. So I'll take 10 nodes here, and I'll also take the second parameter. The second parameter is the probability of edge creation. So I'll take it as 0.5, and then we also need a directed graph in PageRank. Yes, in very first video I explained that we need a directed graph for PageRank. So I'll just write directed is equal to true, since we need a directed graph. So next what you need to do, I'll draw it and show you whether we are getting a directed graph or not. So nx.draw g and plt.show. So let me run it. I'll write random underscore walk dot py. As you can see, we have a directed graph here. We have a directed graph here. We can see the arrows here. But what I want more is I also want the labels of nodes to be visible. So I'll just write width underscore labels is equal to true, so that I can also get the labels on the particular node. So let me run it again. So now we have the labels visible also. We have 0, 1 till 9. We have 0, 1 till 9 since we only passed 10 as a parameter here. So 10 is the total number of nodes here. So now we are done with drawing the graph here. Next, what we need to do, as with the random walk method, we will pick a node randomly from this set of nodes from 0 to 9. We will pick a node randomly. So I'll just take a variable here. I'll say x is equal to random dot choice. I hope that you know what does random dot choice do. It will pick a element randomly from a list. So I need to pass a list here. So I'll write I for I in range. What is the range here? G dot number of nodes. G dot number of nodes. So this is the range here. So we will pick a node randomly. So I'll just write a comment here. X is the random source node. Since we have picked X here, we also need to increment its counter. But how will we store the counter? We will store the counter in a dictionary. So what we need to do here? We need to initialize a dictionary here. I'll use dict underscore counter is equal to curly braces. this represents a dictionary here. I'll also initialize the values of dictionary to 0. So I'll write for I in range G dot number of nodes. Dict underscore counter I is equal to 0. Here what you need to do, G dot number of nodes and dict counter is equal to 0 here. Since this is a method, you need to pass the round braces too. So I also need to increment the counter of source node. And what is the source node here? We have x here. Dict counter x is equal to dict counter x plus 1. So we have incremented the counter to, we have initialized the counter of each node as 0 2. So for next what we need to do here, we need to look for the neighbors of x, and then we need to traverse whole of the graph this way. So I'll be taking many number of iterations here. So I'll have a loop that will represent the iterations here. So I'll start with 100 for example for this graph, and then what we need to do, we need to look for the neighbors of x. So I'll just write, I'll take a list here, list underscore n is equal to list of g dot neighbors of x. Now we need to check, we also need to check here whether x is a sink or not here. If x is a sink, then we need to select a node randomly from the given set of nodes, present in the graph. Otherwise we need to select a node randomly from the neighbors of x. I repeat, if the given node is a sink, we need to select a node randomly from the nodes present in the graph. Otherwise we need to select a node randomly from the list of neighbors of x. So I'll just write if length of list underscore n is equal to 0 here, then that means this is a sink here, it has no neighbors. So I'll write then x will be random dot choice. Again we have to select the neighbors, we have to select x from g dot number of nodes. So I'll write I for I in range g dot number of nodes. So we are also done with it. We have handled the case if x is a sink. Else what we will do, we'll select a node randomly from list of n. So we'll say x is equal to random dot choice list of n, list underscore n. Then we also need to increment the counter of the particular node. So I'll write dict of counter of x is equal to dict of counter x plus 1. I'll also increment the counter here too. Dict of counter of x is equal to dict of counter of x plus 1. So I think we have handled all the cases. I'll just write some comments here. If x is a sink, choose a node randomly from neighbors of x. So I repeat this loop. In this particular loop, first of all we are looking for the neighbors of the source node. Our source node is X here. If it has no source node, that means if it is a sink, then we will choose a node randomly from the given set of nodes present in the graph. Otherwise, we will choose a node randomly from the list of neighbors of the given node. Okay, so we have handled the cases here, and we have also incremented the counter of a particular node if that particular node is traversed in the random walk method. So now we are done with it. So you must be thinking, how can you verify that this particular random walk method reflects the exact PageRank values? Well, we have NetworkX to our rescue. We have a built-in function in NetworkX that tells us what are the PageRank values. So I will be using that particular function, and we'll be verifying that the values returned by NetworkX function and the values returned by our random walk method are same or not. So let us do that. What is the method used here? PageRank. So I'll just use p is equal to nx dot PageRank. This is the method that we'll be using, and we'll be passing our G graph here. So nx dot PageRank is the method that will tell us the exact PageRank values. And I'll print p here, and I'll also print the dict of counter here, so as to verify whether these values are same or not. So I think we are done with it, done with the program. Let me run it. So we have the values here. We have 0 as the first node. Yes, 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, 5. Let me see. We haven't sorted these values. We must sort these values so that we can get a clear idea the ranking of node given by the random walk method as well as by the PageRank method are same or not. This will be difficult for us to figure out by looking at these values. So I'll just sort these values here. So I'll just write, I'll sort these dictionaries, the dictionary P as well as the dictionary dict counter. How can you sort the dictionaries based on the values? Well, it is very much doable in Python. So I'll take two dictionaries here. First of all, sorted P, that is equal to sorted. I'll write P dot items, and key is equal to item operator dot item getter 1. If you pass 1 here, then it will sort based on the values. If you pass 0 here, then it will sort on the basis of the items, on the basis of keys. As we know, in dictionary we have a key, we have a value. So it is your choice whether you want to sort the dictionary on the basis of keys or on the basis of values. Since we have to sort the dictionary based on the PageRank values, so we will be passing 1 here. And then again I'll write sorted random walk is equal to sorted. Here we have dict counter as the dictionary, dict counter dot items, and we also will write key is equal to operator dot item getter 1. Here I will print sorted P, and here I'll print sorted underscore RW, sorted underscore RW. Since we are using operator library here, we need to import operator too. So I'll just write import operator. I hope now we are done with it, and let me try to run it. We have the values here. We have 0 here and we have 2 here. We have 1 here, we have 0 here. So as you can see, these values are not matching with the exact values. So what we can do here is we can always increase the number of iterations. So let me increase the number of iterations. Suppose I increased it to 10,000. Let me run it again. Let me see, we have 2 here, but then we have 8 here, then we have 1 here, we have 1 and 8 here, here it is 2819, here it is 2189, and there are some discrepancies in these values also. So let me again increase the counter. Suppose I increase it to 1 lakh. Let me run it again. So we have 4 here, 4 here, 1 here, 1 here. Then again we have 8 6 here, we have 6 8 here, then we have 2 here, then we have 7 here, 3509, 3509. So these values are matching to the exact values, but there is still a discrepancy we have encountered. That is, here we have 8 6, here we have 6 8. So I'll again increase the counter. Let me increase 1 0 here again. So let me run it again. So we have 598, 598, then 4, then 6, then 3, then 1, then 0, 7, 2. Perfect. We have the exact PageRank values. So you can see random walk method is effective to find the PageRank values, but you have to reiterate it many number of times. So it depends on the size of the graph too. You have to reiterate it again and again in order to get the exact PageRank values, the correct PageRank values. So I hope that this method was clear to you guys. I'll explain you this method again. So first of all, what we did, we took a random graph, a GNP random graph to start with, and then we chose a node randomly. We chose the source node randomly from the given set of nodes. Here we called it as X. Then we also initialized the counter of each node to 0, and we incremented the counter of X since this is a source node. And then we took a for loop in which we will reiterate it many number of times, this random walk method. First of all, I took a list n in which we have the neighbors of X. List of n represents the neighbor of X, and then we checked whether it is a sync or not. If it is a sync, then we need to choose a node randomly from the nodes of the graph. Otherwise, we need to choose a node randomly from the neighbors of X. And side by side, we are also incrementing the counter of the particular node if we traverse that particular node. So we increment the counter here of this node X and here also. So every time the node X is changing and this particular loop is iterating for many number of times. And then we took the PageRank method given by network X so as to check whether the PageRank values given by the random walk method and the exact PageRank values are same or not. And then we sorted these two dictionaries based on the values so that we can get a clear idea of what is happening here, and then we printed these two dictionaries. So in this way you can find PageRank using the random walk method. So my only suggestion is to iterate this method many number of times. Only then you can get the correct PageRank values. I hope this programming screencast was useful to you all. Happy learning!
Hello guys, welcome to this programming screencast on PageRank using points distribution method. So before getting into the points distribution method, actually we'll revisit some concepts from the previous weeks, as well as we'll see some prerequisites that would help you understand the points distribution method better. So we'll get started. First we'll go with a revision. So we had seen a data structure called graphs when we had seen the concept of 6 degrees of separation. Using the Facebook data set, we had analyzed that between two people what is the distance you can reach. We had analyzed there, we had taken a data structure called graph through which the Facebook friendship network is modeled. So we had seen about it. So while explaining about graphs, I had taken railway networks as an example. So here is a network that we had taken. So here the graph is nothing but a set of points and lines. Points are technically called as nodes and lines are technically called as edges. So in this railway network, we had the cities or the railway stations, the stations as nodes, and there is an edge, there is a line between the two nodes. If there is a direct train from this city to that city, that's how we had taken the net, we had modeled and we had created a network, we had created a graph. So this is a graph. So nodes and edges are the terminologies I would like you guys to recall. And another thing that we had seen is neighbors. Neighbors are nothing but what are all the nodes a particular node is connected to using an edge. That's what we call as a neighbor. For example, if you take this node Kolkata, the neighbors are Guwahati, Bengaluru and Chennai. The node Chennai has two neighbors, Bengaluru and Kolkata. So this is what you call as neighbors. And whatever we have, this network is what is an undirected graph. That is, there is no direction. The edges are bidirectional, we assume. That is, if there is a train from Chennai to Bengaluru, there is another train from Bengaluru to Chennai as well. That is an assumption we have. That's how our Indian railway network in major cities is. That's an assumption we had made. But it's not the case always that this kind of a representation is enough to represent any data. Sometimes we may need to consider the directions as well. So we'll see an example of such networks in this lecture as a new concept. So such graphs are what we call as directed graphs. So here is a directed graph where the direction of edges, that is from which node to which node, is the connection present. This direction information is also important in a directed graph. An example from the real world that we can take is, as I have given in the slide, it's email communication network. So here the nodes are the different email IDs, the different people or their email IDs, and there is an edge from one node to another node if this email ID has sent a mail to another one. That is, see in this network there are, let us take a very small group. There are three email IDs we had taken, A, B and C, and generally we keep them anonymized. Right? That's why we'll take toy example A, B and C. Let's say there are some three nodes. So from this mail ID there is a mail that is sent to this mail ID. A to B there is an edge. So person A has sent a mail to person B. But it's not necessary that person B should reply. So that's why we don't have a back edge, an edge from B to A. Whereas the mail he has sent to C, C has replied. So if you have sent a mail from this person to that person, you have a directed edge. The direction denotes who has received the mail. So from A, B has received. So there is an arrow towards B. This is how the email communication network can be constructed. So the point to note here is you have directed edges. The direction of the edges is very important in these directed graphs. And some other examples that we can consider is maybe from the academics, the academia. I can say citation network. We have something called citation network where the nodes are the research paper, and if one paper is citing or it is referring to another research paper, there will be a directed edge. And as you could understand, it's not necessary that the edge has to be bidirectional. Say for example, you may cite a paper that has been written in say 2005. It is not necessary that that paper, that authors should cite you back in some other paper or in that same paper. So it's a directed edge, right? So you understand the concept of directed edges. This is from academia. And another example of a social network, just like Facebook, something involving people, that could be something like you can have people as nodes, and if this person likes another person, if a person A likes person B, there is a directed edge from A to B. So this person has expressed a liking for this person. This could be used in, for example, matrimonial sites. You can use it, you can make analysis of matrimonial sites and you can suggest better recommendations. There are a lot of applications which can be easily solved if you model the data as a graph, especially as a directed graph. This is one thing, an example of social networks. Maybe another example, if you want to give, I may give from the marketing domain. The marketing domain, we have something called the supply chain network. So basically the different companies are the nodes here, and if this company supplies some material to this company, there is a directed edge. So basically let us see this company B. In that case, company B is acquiring some raw materials from company A, and it is making some products and it is selling those products, it is supplying those products to company C, something like this. So for example, if B, let's say battery, if this company is manufacturing batteries, the raw materials needed, the electrolytes, the lithium rods, all those such raw materials it will acquire from different companies. So they will be the incoming edges. So it is acquiring the raw materials from different companies. And once it has manufactured the batteries may be of different requirement. The one you use it for your television remote, the one for your clock, the one for your car, everything. The batteries are different. So this may manufacture batteries using these raw materials, and the manufactured products are sold to different other companies. So the car batteries would be sold to the major car companies, and the clock batteries to the clock manufacturers, and so on. So this is how you can form a network using the different companies and the transactions they have. Such a network is called a supply chain network. This would be a directed graph, and I don't think there will be a bidirectional edge in supply chain network, although I'm not a marketing expert. This is just a little knowledge that I have. But maybe if you feel that there are some examples where there can be bidirectional edge in a supply chain network also, please do let us know in the discussion forum. Like this, the motto here is to make you understand that there would be directed edges, and what do the directed edges signify in different networks. We had taken one example of email communication network. It can be WhatsApp communication. Someone has messaged you on WhatsApp. There is a directed edge from that person to you. If you reply back, you will get a back edge. If you don't reply, you won't get a back edge. So that can be WhatsApp communication network, mail communication network, anything, a communication network in general. Or in academia, you have the citation network, and in marketing domain, we have the supply chain network. In case of social networks, you can consider it as sort of matrimonial networks, like which person has contacted which person based on that, whether the person has replied back to his profile, something like that. You can construct it as a network and you can perform analytics. Once you have modeled your data in the form of a graph data structure, analytics is very easy further. So that's why there are many applications where this graph data structure, the directed graph especially, comes very useful. So we'll get into some terminologies of the directed graphs as well. So the edges we have, right? So we will have other names as well. Nodes, as I had said, as points, and edges or lines is the layman terms. Other technical names can also be present. That is, nodes can also be called as vertices, and edges can also be called as links. I'm just telling because maybe in our lectures we may use those terms interchangeably, or maybe if you look up to some material online, some research papers or some textbooks, you look up anywhere, these two terms may be used interchangeably. Nodes or vertices, and edges or links, they may be used interchangeably. And let us see some terminologies. So the links or the edges, in case of undirected graph, they are bidirectional, so we just say they are the edges. But here it's a directed graph, so the direction matters, so we will say incoming links and outgoing links, incoming edges and outgoing links and outgoing edges. So for node in this graph, if you consider, for node A, the incoming edge is from C to A. That's why we have a tuple C comma A, and the outgoing edge is from A to B and A to C. Like this, you can say the outgoing links and incoming links. So the representation is source comma target. Source is the starting point and target is the destination or the end point of that edge. An edge is present between two nodes. The starting point is called the source, that will be given as the first item here, and the end point of the edge is the target, that is given as a second item of the tuple. So like this, edges will be denoted by tuples. This is the representation regarding directed graphs. Alright, so I have started off with directed graphs. So I would like that you guys think of any other applications where this directed graphs can come handy. So that would be the thing I would expect you guys as a result of watching this video. you must think in that direction, and we'll see further prerequisites in the upcoming parts. Alright guys, so in the previous video you had been introduced to the new data structure of directed graph, that is a variant of the graph data structure called the directed graph where the direction of edges matter. So let us get into our NetworkX, the package for graphs, and let us see what are the support that it provides to deal with directed graph data structure. So let's get into the Python syntax and other intricacies. Let's get started. So as the first step, the package that supports the graph data structure operations is NetworkX. That we'll be importing. We'll do that. Import NetworkX as NX. So this is just a short name. Given that NetworkX is a lengthier name, so I'm using a shorter name, NX. So I have imported it. So how did you create a undirected graph? If you want to create a new undirected graph, you would say, let me say undirected graph, right? So let me say U is nothing but you created nx dot graph. This would create a undirected graph, right? This was used to create an undirected graph. In case you want to create a directed graph, how would we do that? Let's see. Let me say G is my graph. I'll create it. nx dot digraph is the command. See, observe that D is in caps and G is in caps. Digraph is another terminology we use to say directed graph. Directed graph, digraph is a sort of acronym, you can consider it as. Digraph, D and G has to be in caps, please observe this. Digraph. So a digraph, a directed graph object has been created. So if you would want to know what are the nodes present in the graph, that's done by, let us see, G dot nodes. See, it's empty. Node view is a abstract data type it is using, but we are comfortable with the list representation. So given that it is using a different representation in Python 2, if you are following, the output of G dot nodes will be a list data type, but in Python 3 they have a different representation. So we need to convert this into list representation so that it is easier for our programming purposes. So currently it is empty, there are no nodes. So let us add a few nodes, something like this. G dot add nodes from. Add nodes from. You have a thing. So you need to pass a list as a parameter. So a list where you enter the node IDs. Say for example A, B, C, D, whatever you want, you need to give that as a list. Let me use numbers itself for the nodes. I say I want to create some 3 nodes, 0, 1 and 2. So I can say 0, 1 and 2. What if I want to do for 100 nodes, 1000 nodes, if I want to increase? Is it possible for me to manually enter all the numbers? No, right? So in that case, what we can do is we can use a for loop here and we can do it. So to demonstrate that, even for this case as well, I'll use a for loop and demonstrate. For I in range, how many nodes you wanted, you just need to give that. Let me say I want some 5 nodes. So I have given 5. So this is there. So I want to add node number I for I in range 5. That is, now you iterate over the number line till you reach 5. So from 0 it starts 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, it will stop. So all those, whatever is the values that I has been taking, as I had said, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, you append that to the list. That is what this particular line means. This is one line way by which you can add a collection of nodes if you want to name them in the numbered fashion only. So you can add it this way. So please observe this, G dot add nodes from, you need to pass a list, and given that I want to number it sequentially, I can use a for loop and get it done instead of enumerating those numbers manually. This is how you have added the nodes. Now let me see what are the nodes now. See, as I have said, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 has been added. So as I have said, this representation, the tuple sort of representation, is not very friendly for us a list is friendly for us. We can iterate over the list easily. So we will convert it into a list. List of G dot nodes. See? Yes. See? It has been converted into a list format. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 has been converted into a list format. So what are the edges present in the graph? G dot edges. If you would see, out edge view it says. So in a undirected graph you can just say edges, but in a directed graph if you just say edges, it by default is taking out edge, that is the outgoing edges. So we need to mention in edges and out edges. G dot out edges. There are no outgoing edges, and G dot in edges. For incoming edges, there are no incoming edges. And as this is a different data type, we want it to be in a list format, so we will be typecasting it into list. But given that currently we don't have any edges, so let us add a few edges and then we'll do it. So let me say G dot add edge. You need to give the source and the target. Source is the starting point of your edge and target is the end point of your edge. So if I say 1, 2 and edge, that is a directed edge from node 1 to node 2 will be created, will be added into the network. So now if I see G dot edges, so 1, 2 is the only edge I have. So if I say in edges, it's also 1, 2. It's in case of out edges, it's 1, 2. So basically it doesn't matter if you just say edges. Where this in edges and out edges terminology matters is if you give a particular node and say what are the incoming edges to this node, or what are the outgoing edges from this node. In that case this thing actually matters. So let me say G dot out edges of, let me say 1. Let me say this, see 1, 2. Whereas if I give G dot in edges of 1, it's empty because there is no incoming edge to node 1 currently. So this is how this works. So let me add few more edges and let us see. Add edge from 0, 3, let us say 2, 3, let this be a bidirectional edge, 3, 2 as well. Let us add 3, 4, 4, 1. Please note that the order matters. You are giving the source, the starting point as the first element and the target or the end point as the second element. This order matters. Please note this. As like in undirected graph, you cannot give in any order. Please note 4, 1 doesn't mean that 1, 4 is also present. That is, if there is an edge from node 4 to node 1, node 1 to node 4 there is an edge. That doesn't, you cannot guarantee that there will be an edge. So this is the speciality of a directed graph, as you could see. So now if I say, as I have said, list, we'll convert into list given that it's easier for us. G dot out edges of any node. Say for example, let me say node 2. So this is an outgoing edge. Let me say node 3. These are the outgoing edges. So from node 3 there are 2 outgoing edges. One towards node 2 and one towards node 4. There are 2 outgoing edges. So you have a list of tuples. An edge is denoted by a tuple. List of tuples. This is how you have the output of this particular function, out edges. Please note this. This will be used in our programming screencast. This functionality, out edges, we will be using it. Also, if you want to find the incoming edges, you can say in edges. So these are the incoming edges. From 0 you have an incoming edge towards 3. And from 2 you have an incoming edge towards 3. These are the incoming edges. So this is how you can see the outgoing edges and incoming edges. We convert it into list format because it is easier for us. Alright guys. So we have seen some prerequisites, some functionalities that are provided in NetworkX package to work with directed graphs. And what is so important about directed graph that you have to again and again keep in mind is the edges are directed. An edge from node A to node B doesn't mean that you have path from node B to node A as well. That is, a direct edge from node B to node A as well exists. This is not guaranteed. That is, if there is an edge from node A to node B, there is no guarantee that you will have an edge from node B to node A. This is the key point of directed graphs. Please do keep this in mind, and we'll see about the algorithm of points distribution method. How do we do that and what is the procedure to be followed, we'll see that in the upcoming parts. Alright guys, so in the previous videos we had seen about what is called the directed graph and few terminologies, and we had seen how we can use NetworkX package to work with directed graphs. So now in this lecture we'll get started with what is the points distribution method, as the title says what that actually is and what are we going to do. So for this example, let us take the same graph, the same very simple graph with just 3 nodes for demonstration purposes, and while programming maybe we'll take a complex network as well. We can do that. Also we'll take a very simple graph for demonstration purpose, just this graph having 3 nodes. We'll be taking this for demonstration, and while programming we can have a complex network as well. We can take that as an example. So let's get started. So before starting, I would just ask you to assume that this is a network of a social network, as you can say, of people liking each other. So you can consider this as probably I have collected a data about your family and friends. So these are your family members or friends. The nodes are the people, and this person likes this person. The person A likes person B. In that case, we'll have a directed edge from A to B. This is how the network has been constructed. If you would assume this way, it would be easier for you if I explain the points distribution method. So assume that this is our network, a simple network having just 3 nodes. Just assume the network is there is an edge between 2 people. If person A likes person B, there is a directed edge from person A to B. So for demonstration purpose, we'll be taking this simple network containing just 3 nodes. While we are actually programming, we can construct a complex network as well, having many nodes and edges. You can construct any network and you can run your algorithm on it. For demonstration purpose, we'll take a very simple network. So just assume that these nodes are people and there is a directed edge from person A to person B if person A likes person B. So something like that. So we'll get started with the points distribution method. Okay. So initially, all the nodes are given equal points. So points, you can also consider it as some gift items or gold coins, anything. Some item is given to all the 3 people. Something equally has been given. And they have been asked to play a sort of a game, something like that. The rule of this game is whatever you are having, you should share it equally with all your out edges. So we had collected the data of who all you like, right? So out edges, who all this person A likes person B and person C. Person B likes just person C. Person C just likes person A. So this is the data, right? So you're supposed to share whatever you have equally with all you like. So that is the rule. So they have to play the game. So initially they have equal number of points, but due to this exchange of the points, the next iteration, the points may not be equal to all the 3. But one thing is guaranteed is the sum of points will be the same. Initially, we have, let us say we have given some x points to each person. So 3x is the sum, right? So the same 3x, the sum 3x would be maintained throughout. But the individual values each person is having will differ. So let us see node A. Node A has got 2 neighbors. By neighbors, I mean those people to whom there is an outward edge. That is, person A likes these 2 people, person B and C. So these are the neighbors. So given that there are 2 people, you should divide it into 1 by 2. Since there are 2 people, that's why it's 1 by 2. If there are 3 people, it will be 1 by 3. If there are k people, it will be 1 by k. You should partition your total points into that many fragments, and you should be giving it to all those people. That is the rule for node A. Let us see for node B. Here he is having, he should give it entirely to node C. 1 by 1, it's 1. So he should give it entirely to node C. And node C, if you consider, he just has one neighbor. He just likes one person, node A. So whatever he is having, he should give it entirely to node A. So I guess, do you sense something that we have started with equal points each, but even after just one exchange in this fashion, obeying this rule, there is more points will be acquired by node C, given that node A will also give something to him, node B will also give something to him. Given that two people are giving, he will acquire more. Something like that. One node will acquire more and one node will acquire less, but the sum of the points will be the same. That is, if you add up the points with A, B and C, initially whatever was the sum, we started with equal number of points. Let us say X points to node A, node B, node C. The sum is the addition of all these three values is 3x. The same 3x would be maintained even after this iteration. Like this, you have to repeat this process for multiple number of times. So this is how you have to give. So a node is giving to someone as well as getting from someone, right? So we'll see the getting details now. So node A will get something. So that will be his new points. Initially, they were given equal number of points. Let us say 100 points for simplicity. They were given 100 points each. Node A 100, node B had got 100, node C has got 100. So 300 points total in the system. So each node has 100 points initially. So following that rule, they had to share their points along with their neighbors. So the node will have to give it to its neighbors as well as it will get some points from someone who likes him. So for example, let's say node B. He likes node C. So he would give his points to node C as well as node A likes node B, right? So he will also give. So node B will be getting something as well. So each node will be giving something as well as getting something. So we'll see what it gets. That's what I mean by new points. Initially everything was equal. Following this exchange rule, they had exchanged their points, and what is the new points? Node A will get everything from node C, right? So whatever was the old points of C, that will entirely come to A. That is the new points. And for node B, he'll get half from A because A likes B and C. So he has to, as per the rule, he has to share it equally with both the people, right? So he'll get half of it. So do you see that? Initially there was 100 points. Now given that he is getting just half of it, now B will be settled with 50 points after this one exchange. Same like that for node C. The new points is he'll get half from node A as well as from B entirely he'll be getting. So this is how the game has to be played. A game where initially all the nodes were given equal points, say 100 points, and the points has to be exchanged between the parties following this rule that how many ever outgoing edges you have and how many ever points you have, you should share it equally among all the people. So that is the rule. Following that, you should play the game. So if you keep playing this game, if you keep doing it, so after one iteration, as I have said, this we can say it's iteration, one exchange, one round. After one round, as we had said, node A had some 100 points, node B had some 50 points as you could see, and node C will be having 150 points. Straightforward math, you can work out and you will get to know that. So this is the status after one exchange. Now with this state, they are again following the same rule, and node A had 100 points, right? So he'll divide into 50-50. Node B had 50, he'll give that 50 entirely. They follow the same rule and they'll play this. What happens if you play this for say some 1000 iterations or 10,000 iterations? If you keep doing it, what happens? Let us see that in the next part. Alright guys, so in the previous videos, you were introduced to the concept of directed graphs. You had seen how you can work with directed graphs using your NetworkX package, as well as I had introduced you to this game of points distribution. So we had seen the concepts. So let us see, as I had said, one snap you had done the calculation. What happens if we keep repeating this? So let us first try simulating this in Excel. That is a spreadsheet, we'll try simulating it. Because given that we are doing for some 1000 times, manually if you do, there is a possibility that after some iterations you may get some fractions as well, so you may have some errors if you do it manually. So let us use the spreadsheet software and let us see what happens. So let me open a new sheet. I'm opening a new spreadsheet. So let us say we are starting with, let us say we are starting with 100 points per node. We have the nodes A, B and C. Let us use the same columns for ease of understanding. We start with 100 points. So I have given 100 points to all three of them and I have asked them to exchange based on that rule. And so after exchange, what happens? We had seen what will be the new points that will be accumulated. We have seen. Let us refresh once. See, new points of A is nothing but old points of C. Just it will retain that. So what is the new value here? This is at time 1. Let us say at time t equal to 1. This is the values. They had initially equal values, all 100 points each. So at time 2, what happens? What are the old points of C is what A will have. So let me say equal to C1, old points. Okay. And so what for B? What is the new points of B is half of the old points of A. So I'll say equal to old points of A is A1 here divided by 2, half, right? So that's why I'm dividing it. Okay. So for C, what is the new points? Half of old points of A plus old points of B, because C is liked by both these people, so it will get more points. So half of old points of A and old points of B, we have to add them up. So let us feed in that formula. Half of old points of A, I'll say A1 by 2 plus, what is it? Old points of B, so it's B1. Okay, so as I have said, it's 100, 50 and 150. So this calculation we had done it. What happens if we repeat it for further iterations? So in Excel, if you drag it, the formula will get copied automatically. It will get adjusted. That is a nice feature available in this software. So we'll drag it and see what happens. See, these are the values after some 10 iterations. So it was 150, 150, so that 150 came here, half of it comes here. So some kind of jugglery happens, and at every point, as I have said, the sum will be constant. So sum is equal to, so let me give a space so that you can understand this is the points and this is the statistics we are calculating. Let us see, we are calculating the sum equal to A1 plus B1 plus C1. Okay, this is the sum. So I need to copy the same formula here as well. See, the individual points, the distribution differs, but the sum of the three values remains constant. So this is something similar to your law of conservation of energy in your physics. Energy can neither be created nor be destroyed. It will keep getting transferred from one form to another form in the system, right? So something like that, the points are neither created nor destroyed. That keeps getting transferred from one party to other party in the system. That's what is happening in this game. So we have done this for 10 iterations, right? So let us further extend it. Let us say for some 20 iterations, what happens? So some values have occurred. So let us take this. Let us even see the sum. See, the sum remains constant irrespective of whatever is the distribution here among the three items. The sum remains constant. So after 20, some sort of convergence, is it occurring? That is, by convergence I mean between the previous one and the next one, there is no much difference, or it exactly remains the same. That is what I mean by convergence. Let us see what happens. When do we get convergence? Let us now fast forward and let us see. I mean, we had checked by 10 iterations, right? First we check for the first 10, then we check for 20. We keep on checking like this. No, so let us check for lot of iterations. Let us see some. Okay, so I have checked for some another 15 iterations. So it appears to converge, but yeah, here it is 119.99, 120 point something, 59.999, 120. It appears to converge. Okay, let us further extend. Let us see what happens. Okay, let us further extend. Let us see what happens. let me say I am extending till 140. Wow. See, here there is an exact convergence. 120, 120, 60, 60, 120, 120. And it remains the same. Irrespective of hereafter, how many ever times you repeat, it remains the same. Let us see where this first convergence has occurred. So at the 66th iteration, it was 120, 66, 120. A sort of a stable state has been reached. 67, the same. 68, the same. After that, how many ever times you repeat, the same points distribution is preserved. And if you want to see the sum, let us extend and see. Let us extend and see it. Let us extend and see the sum. Alright, so till here. See, the sum was 300 from the beginning till the end. And after some time, the exchange of points keep happening. So see, we initially began with 100, 100, 100 equally. The 300 points were equally distributed to the three parties. They were asked to exchange as per the rule. So the points after one exchange changed, after another exchange there is further a change in points. So that kept on shuffling, the distribution kept on changing. But irrespective of the distribution, the sum always remained constant. So you can see that the property that has to be observed. And this convergence factor is used in your PageRank algorithm. So we had simulated this using the spreadsheet. So let us now get into the programming part and simulate it using our Python programming skills. This will be done in the next part.